I mean, I used to write about executives who were amazing so they could get on the Wall Street Journal and Oprah and other major media. And I had all these systems around how to make people sound brilliant at hello. And I was in the depths of despair because we just bought a new house. We couldn't sell the one we'd left. My income had evaporated almost overnight, and I needed to make money quickly. And then when I came back, I couldn't believe my eyes. I had screens and screens and screens that said, you have an order, you have an order, you have an order.
All right, guys, we are live today. Thanks so much for joining us. I am super excited to have my guest here today, guys. Nancy Juetten is her name. You are going to want to remember that, and you will remember it by the end of today. Guys, she has written a best-selling book that has just been released on Amazon called Bye Bye Boring Bio. She's also the creator of Podcast Dream Master. What do we call it? Mentory? Mastery?
Podcast Dream Guest Mastery.
Mastery. There we go. I missed the Y. So I am super excited to have you here. Not only have you created those great things, but you've also had multiple years of experience in PR and stuff like that. So I'm super excited today to dive into some of those things. Welcome aboard, Nancy.
Thanks, Sheldon. It's great to be here.
Thanks so much. So Nancy, we had the privilege of meeting through a mutual mentor and mutual friend of ours, Michael Haig. And he told me, and I saw that you had just this incredible story and this incredible business. And I just had to tell people about it. So before we get into all that, I want you to kind of tell your story a little bit about how you got to write the Bye Bye Boring Bio.
Well, I used to own a public relations agency, and my job was to help CEOs of leading corporations get seen, heard, celebrated, and compensated as a result of them showing up big time in the media. And that was going along great for a while. And then what happened was the Great Recession of 2008 happened, and the economy just about fell apart. And what happened for me, sadly, is my PR firm almost fell apart in a weekend because people were holding on for dear life to do their own thing, and PR just didn't seem as urgent. And so what happened was, I used to write about executives who were amazing so they could get on the Wall Street Journal and Oprah and other major media. And I had all these systems around how to make people sound brilliant at hello. And I was in the depths of despair because we just bought a new house. We couldn't sell the one we'd left. My income had evaporated almost overnight, and I needed to make money quickly. So a friend actually dared me. She said, "You're so good at writing about people and making them sound amazing. I dare you to write a book to help people solve that problem." And I thought, well, she's daring me. I better think about that. And since all my clients disappeared, I took the dare. In 3 weeks, I wrote this beautiful workbook. I brought it. It was gorgeous. It was well done. And I thought, what the heck? I'll tell my 1,085 newsletter subscribers that this tool was available to help them position themselves as experts so that high-paying clients would pay them to do their work. And I said a little prayer, sent the email, and went and walked the dog. And then when I came back, I couldn't believe my eyes. I had screens and screens and screens that said, you have an order, you have an order, you have an order. And the bottom line was that book that I wrote on a dare saved my bacon at the precise time that I needed to bring it home. And I've since gone on to build a very successful business based on that expertise that also helps people to get known and get paid for their winning ways, whether they're speaking up on a podcast, a broadcast, a television show, or from their own platform.
That is super fantastic. And you did all of this off of a dare, right?
Yep.
Amazing, guys. So, going into it, obviously off of a dare, what were some of the mental shifts that maybe you had to make, or some of the challenges that you had to actually writing a book, publishing it, and actually producing it?
It's sort of funny. What you don't know can be a blessing. I am a decent writer. I know how to put a few sentences together. I just put my head down and wrote the best workbook I could as quickly as I thought I could without worrying about whether or not I was doing it right. And I checked my spelling and my grammar, and I took it to Kinko's and had it spiral bound. I mean, I had it spiral bound. I didn't even care about that part of it. And it was like, okay, I've got a self-published book and I'm going to make it available to people and I'm going to share it in a way that could be of service to them, and let's just go. And so not knowing how to do book publishing, that was one thing that I didn't allow to stand in my way. Another thing that I didn't allow to stand in my way is sometimes mentors will say, oh, you're thinking too small. Why are you focusing on such a small problem? But I had a feeling that this wasn't a small problem at all. I thought that there's millions of people that struggle spelling out their greatness and broadcasting their brilliance so people will pay attention to them. I've heard it many times before, so I had to overcome people saying you're thinking too small and believe that there could be riches and niches. And you know what? There are riches and niches.
Absolutely there are, right? And I love that you mentioned mentors, and I was going to bring it up later, but I'll talk about it because you made such a nice segment into it right now. But talk about the mentors in your life. What kind of impact did they have? Why is it important to have mentors in your life?
Well, several reasons. One is they speed up your learning curve. They can help you avoid costly mistakes. They can introduce you to powerful people that can accelerate your path to greatness far more readily than you can accomplish by yourself. And in my own personal experience, I think the best part about mentorship, which has also frankly been the most painful part of mentorship, is that they call you on your stuff. And let's be clear that you can have all the know-how and all the skill and the greatest solution to the problem that needs urgent relief. But if your mindset is not in the right space to grow and go, there's no way you can accomplish anything. And I'll tell you something. I mean, this is a funny little story. I hired mentors because I wanted to speed my learning curve and avoid costly mistakes and make powerful, introductions and all that kind of stuff. And I always thought, well, if I needed mindset stuff, I'd hire a therapist. I didn't really want to deal with a mentor who was going to call me on my stuff. And sometimes the calls that I'd have with this mentor, I'd be in tears because he would say, it doesn't matter, being perfect. It's like, it's who you are and how you show up and the big difference that you make that's going to make you attractive to clients. And I'm thinking, but I'm smart. None of that stuff matters. That stuff really matters.
It does.
So if you can't show up and be yourself and be amazing in all your foibles and missing pieces, then clients won't be attracted to you. And that was a real tough lesson for me. So mentors are really helpful for calling you on your mindset stuff and calling you forward to think bigger than you thought you could and to perform better. And I'll give you one more example of mentorship that was powerful for me and incredibly relevant to what I'm doing now. When I always fashioned myself as a writer, as a journalist, as someone who used words on paper to make people feel important, and I am that person. But I remember a mentor telling me, if you are not willing to stand up on a stage or a virtual platform and speak your message, one arm of your success will be tied behind your back. I'm more than happy to help you, but if you're not willing to step up, your upside is going to be dramatically compromised. And that was really tough love. But as a result of that, I was not happy with those odds. So I decided to advance on the path to mastery to become a much better public speaker and a much better workshop leader and a much more powerful trainer. And that has truly accelerated my success beyond anything I could have accomplished without that. And now, because of the worldwide pandemic for COVID-19, that's something that a lot of us are struggling with, it is not an impediment for me speaking up on podcasts, broadcasts, television shows, and delivering my message to millions. And that is so empowering for all of us, especially while we're sheltering in place.
Absolutely. And I love the fact that you mentioned that, it wasn't one of your strengths to begin with, but it's something that you developed and you put time into and energy to develop over the years. And look at you now. Like I said, you're one of my mentors, and the things that we've been able to accomplish just in the short time of spending time together has been remarkable. So I'm glad that we've been able to do that. And I'm glad that you were able to really kind of share some of those things that you were able to go through in order to get where you are today. Because it's important for people to know that it takes time, it takes energy, right? All good things do, guys. And Nancy just kind of reiterated that all over again, that if you put the time and the effort in, that it's going to be worth it. Right?
Well, and we're all on the path to mastery.
Yeah.
There's a really good book called Mastery, and I highly recommend that everyone read it, because sometimes success is not a straight line. Sometimes you go this way and then you're stuck here, and you have to enjoy where you are and get the lessons of what that present moment is bringing to you before you can make that leap up. We're all on the path to mastery in everything that we do, whether it's affiliate marketing, speaking, developing programs that people gladly buy, being better at relationships, whatever.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what I want to do, and talking about mastery, and this, like I said, you kind of just kept leading me into all these different things that I want to talk to you about today. But the mastery you did and some of the things you talked about was really, the most people, why they want to get on podcasts is really to create authority in certain niches, subjects, become that master, right? And as many of us experienced in different ways, but a lot of us experience analysis paralysis, where there's so much information, we don't know where to start. And I really feel that for a lot of us, we don't start as a result of not knowing where, and there's just too much information. So maybe what you can do is, like, what's the best way, first of all, for someone to turn around and get their podcast journey started? Where should they start, and what should they focus on?
Excellent question. Well, first I'll say that there are over 1 million podcasts that we can all choose to listen to right now, and the number of podcasts is growing daily. And not all of those podcasts are right for what you have to share. So one thing that you might do is start looking for podcasts that are in service to your niche audience and what you're excited about, and start tuning in, because you can see that people are sharing quality expert advice to embedded audiences of listeners who have a predetermined interest in that subject matter. And when you listen to a podcast, you can immediately start to imagine, what if I was on that podcast and sharing my message with that embedded audience? What then could happen in terms of me being able to ping pong all of those listeners back into my world, so I could have the opportunity to potentially do business with them? Allow yourself to dream a little bit about what could happen if you're taking that place on the microphone and having that opportunity. And then the other thing I would say is, I have a 6P system about how to be ready, how to be the podcast dream guest. And the first thing you want to do is prepare and believe as if the most important opportunity is coming to you tomorrow.
Wow, yeah.
And so to accomplish that, I recommend that you create a media one sheet that allows you to dream into the impact that you will make when you are invited to take that place. And what is a media one sheet? It's a one sheet of paper that showcases who you are, who you serve, what you talk about in a provocative, compelling manner, what audience members have said about the impact you make when you speak up, and how to get in touch with you, and then perhaps 50 words about you, so a host can introduce you properly in the third person as the rock star that you are. Because when you make a pitch to a podcaster, they're going to say, well, what do you want to talk about? And what's the audience going to learn? And why should we bring you on as opposed to all the other people that are begging for a place? When just the very exercise of creating this media one sheet will boost your confidence so dramatically, because when you read about who you are and what you have to offer and the juicy, delicious benefits that audience members will gain, you will become unstoppable in the pursuit of opportunities to share that message. And that is a really, really good place to start.
Absolutely. And you mentioned just the creating the confidence, and you walked me through creating my own. I shared it with my audience. They absolutely loved it. They all want to know how to build their own, right? But you're absolutely right. It does give you the confidence to be able to say, here's what I am, here's what I stand for, and these are the things that I'd love to chat to you about. And it's a great little way to be able to drop with your audience, with guests, with future podcast people, to be able to really know, like, and trust you and find you, really is what the purpose of that Media One Sheet is.
Yes. And if you were listening to the podcast before you pitched the host, you can say, I listened to your podcast with your guest, Sheldon Clausen, and what I loved most about it was how I learned how to become a smarter affiliate so I could enjoy my life as a stay-at-home mom or dad. And the reason I'm reaching out to you is I have a fresh perspective to take that conversation even further. And this is what's my unique take on it. But when you can demonstrate to the host that you've listened to their show, you've said something nice about it that's genuine, that demonstrates that you're not just spraying and praying and hoping for a place. Everyone wants to be seen, heard, and acknowledged for the good work they're doing on the air. Acknowledge that host, let them know that you have something to add to the conversation, and make yourself irresistible, and you'll get a place too.
Such a pro tip, guys. I hope you guys are taking lots of notes right now, because Nancy's giving you lots of little tidbits and little things that you can turn around and actually take action on in order to turn around and get results, right? Now, why is it important? Now, the next thing is, like, here's the next pro tip as well. You taught me how to take that Media One Sheet from a piece of paper to a digital form. Why would you do that?
Well, let's just imagine for a moment that you have 35 podcasts that you have been on since March 1st of this year. If you have to stop every time you get booked to say, what are my social media links? Where's my bio? Where's this? Where's my headshot? Where's the picture of my book? It's time consuming to hunt and peck for you to create all that for every booking you get. So for you, as the person who's taking yourself seriously as a podcast guest, when you get booked, and if someone says, Sheldon, so glad to have you on the show, I'm going to need your social media links, your headshot, the 10 questions that you like me to ask during an interview, the link to your free gift or your call to action. Can you get all that to me before the show? When you have it all on a page on your blog or website where it says interview Sheldon, and you say, I'm so honored to be asked to be on the show. Here's everything you need exactly as you need it. I can't wait to be a guest. The host is going to say, wow, this guy really knows what he's talking about. I don't have to chase cats to get what I need. You didn't have to chase cats to find what you needed. And you get to focus your attention on delivering a magnificent message that will be remembered, and most importantly, will compel the listeners to say, I want some more of what Sheldon has. And they'll go and get your free gift or your amazing program or your amazing phone call or whatever it is that you're offering. Win-win-win outcomes for the audience, for you, and the host. That is why having it digitally presented makes it a win-win-win all around.
Absolutely, guys. It's something that you can have on the fly. So if someone needs it, you can just say, look at it here, right?
Can I say one other thing?
Of course.
This is a true story. You know, stories are so powerful and so memorable. We all work hard at our businesses, and every now and then, don't we just sit on a lounge chair with a book and a cocktail and imagine a few hours where we're unfettered and not doing anything, not tending to the kids, not tending to the dog, whatever. And so this actually happened to me. Is I'm laying on a lounge chair in San Diego, and I can feel the trade winds, and I can smell the flora and the fauna, and I've got my iced tea nearby, and I'm ready to feel that Southern California sun on my skin, and I'm just relaxing and believing that Oprah's going to tell me what she knows for sure. And my phone rings, and it's National Public Radio. And she says, oh, I'm looking for Nancy Juetten. This is Nancy. Well, I found you on a Google search, and we have an important need for an expert just like you to be on the program tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock to talk about how to become an expert in your subject matter. Can you do it? like I'm in my bathing suit, don't have anything nearby. And I just immediately woke up and I said, well, Mary, I'm so honored to be asked. I'd be happy to do it. And here's this. By the time the phone gets hung up, you will have my photo, a cover, the picture of my book cover, the 5 questions I most like to be asked, a short bio written in the third person that makes it easy for you to introduce me. What else can I do to create a fabulous experience for you and for your national audience? And she laughs and she says, will you please teach the world to do what you just did? And so what's cool about this is I was able to go to my Interview Nancy link and in seconds say, thanks so much for the call. Here's everything you need. I'll be right on the line at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. If that doesn't create a wow reaction for the producer, I don't know what else would. But for me, the gal who needed a vacation, I didn't have to take any time. I didn't have to put my cover up on. I didn't have to go back to the hotel room. I just got to continue reading my book. And if we're having a laptop lifestyle, that means we need to be ready for opportunity before it knocks so we don't have to give it up. There you go.
That's right. And it's one of the easiest things to do, guys. Go hire someone to do it for whatever it costs, because it is so valuable that you can just drop it on a dime like that. And what it shows the producer or the person on the other side is that, you aren't dealing with an amateur. You aren't dealing with someone who doesn't know what's going on. You have all your ducks lined up in a row. So it's just a matter of saying, here's the website, here's the link, go there, you'll have all that information.
Well, and I would encourage you to drop the link to your Interview Sheldon link in your show notes so people can have an example of something to model. And then the other thing I would say in the bucket of mentorship and mindset, which is so many of us are in the getting ready to get ready club, and we're spinning multiple plates and trying to figure out where we should really put our primary focus. But if the one thing you do as a result of talking to us today is decide to drop out of the get ready to get ready club and to believe and behave as if the biggest media outlet was calling you tomorrow, it will shift the way you do everything, because how you do anything is how you do everything. Be a pro at hello. Even if you're newer in your journey, you will leapfrog over other people who have bigger names, who are less prepared, and take your place on those bigger stages, because that has been the story of my life. I'm just a pleasure to work with, and everybody knows it. And what if that's what everybody was saying about you?
It would be fantastic, right, guys? And she just dropped so many valuable tips there. It actually gave me chills under my sweater and stuff like that as we were listening, because it's so true. Just everything she said, rewind it, take it verbatim, and do exactly what she just mentioned. Because the other thing that Nancy, she won't necessarily tell you this, but Nancy is also a great connector, guys. She is she's one of the top 10 people in I'll let her tell the story a little bit more, but she's a pro at joint venture partnerships and finding and connecting people. And one of the things that, there's a little bit of a misconception between affiliate marketing and joint ventureship. So first of all, I'd like you to kind of explain the difference between those, because you eloquently divide those so well. And then I'd really like to go into the pros about a joint venture and maybe what a con is as well.
Okay. Well, affiliate marketing, as you know, is when you as an affiliate find products, services, and programs that you believe in, that you believe solve problems and bring benefits and pleasure to your audience, and you proudly endorse them to your community. And when you do, provided you are credible and have built a satisfactory tribe, people will take action on your recommendations and benefit from those products and services. And as a result, you, the person who made the referral, will welcome a commission, right?
Yeah.
And so you as an affiliate marketer can make choices about the kinds of products and services that you want to endorse and be very particular about it and be of service to your tribe. And the reciprocation is you promote an ABC product in exchange for a commission. And that's a very simple model. how I would differentiate joint venture partnerships is that the level of reciprocation is even more dramatic. Because if you create a relationship or collaboration with someone who has, if let's just say you have a list of 10,000 opt-in subscribers and you know someone who does something complementary to what you do, meaning that your people would either buy their product or service before or after they buy from you, you could create a partnership with someone with a similar list size and say, for example, I will gladly promote your free gift to my audience in a very specific strategic way during this time window. And won't you please reciprocate a month later so that we can both support each other? And the beauty of that is with two large lists working together, the likelihood of both of them welcoming new subscribers, new buyers is greater. And in this case, you will also likely be sharing commissions for referred sales, but you can accelerate your path to greater list growth and more sales by partnering with people where the fit is right. So you can accelerate, and it suggests, because joint venture partnership, it suggests it's going to be a long-lasting relationship, not just a one-hit wonder or something like that. That's the best way I can explain it.
Yeah, and what would be a con to a joint venture?
Well, sometimes when you create relationships with people, sometimes people want to take advantage of your personal relationship and ask for favors at the 11th hour. And I've had this happen a few times where someone is in a bind and really needs some additional support at the 11th hour, and they'll say, please, won't you mail for me on this date and this time? I really need you to come forward as a partner and help me out. And sometimes that's a conflict to your own initiative that needs to have your 100% focus. And to be really candid with you, sometimes it feels a little bit like a JV booty call. And so if you find yourself on the receiving end of too many JV booty call requests, it might be time to create some better boundaries and standards around how you want to play with people. And I actually have a page on my website that makes it clear to people how I like to play with folks. And I think I even say, if we're really going to do this well, let's give each other proper notice so that we can make it a top priority for both of us. And I think I add no JV booty calls, because I just don't like that. I consider that a downside.
Absolutely. And I like how you call it the late night booty call, right? It's just, no one wants that, right? No one has time for that.
Let's have a little respect.
Exactly, right? Now, one of the things we talked about a little bit earlier, and we haven't mentioned it so far in this conversation yet, but I'm very, very curious. We had a call yesterday, and that's how I found out about this, guys. But the Hollywood Squares.
Okay.
So I'm very curious on how you utilize the Hollywood Squares, what you mean by that, and the purpose behind it.
Okay. Well, it's often said that if you have 100 advocates or champions, you can accomplish amazing things. But if you're a little bit introverted or you get a little bit overwhelmed, like 100 relationships to me sounds like a lot. So I heard Mari Smith, the social media expert, talk about how each one of us should have our Hollywood Squares. And if this is showing my age, there was this game show on television called the Hollywood Squares, where there were 8 celebrities in a box and they all helped each other, like 1 degree of separation. So what that means is, if you draw a tic-tac-toe board and you put yourself in the center, and let's say you're an affiliate marketer, like you are, or an affiliate, you help people become masterful at affiliate marketing. You could ask yourself, who are 8 amazing people of influence who could benefit from what I do, where what I do is not a direct conflict to what they do, but instead is something they would come to before or after they work with them. And then you can say, well, I'm going to use myself as an example because I know my business a little bit better. I have this book called Bye Bye Boring Bio, and I ask myself, who needs this? Well, the cop-out answer is everybody needs this. But when you get more specific, you can say, well, a leader of a tribe who helps people get clients now might find this a useful tool that doesn't compete with what they do and actually adds value. A publicity expert might find what it is that I do useful, because anyone that needs to get publicity needs a better bio. Someone who teaches large tribes of people to be excellent workshop leaders probably needs this too. People who help people get their books done, you know? So you sort of fill out the Hollywood Squares with broad categories of niche audiences that probably could benefit from what you do. And then you aim high and you ask yourself, who are the biggest players that do that have large tribes of people who need that, and see about creating relationships with those people. Now I can create relationships with 8 people this year and make those relationships rock solid. And then next year I can find another Get Clients Now person and another book coach and another this, but I can build a Rubik's Cube of amazing possibilities to create relationships with people just by filling out my Hollywood Squares. And then my first step in creating that relationship is to lead with a giving hand with that particular expert and say, I followed your work. I'm in admiration of what you do. I've purchased your products. I know they're excellent. What can I do to support what's important to you so that we can start a relationship that can be lasting? And when you make an approach like that, they'll say, well, gee, I've got a launch coming up. I wonder if you might like to lend support. And then you can jump in and say, I'll give it everything I've got. And when you give it everything they've got and you end up on the leaderboard in their launch, you've gotten their attention. And that just sets the stage for them to want to reciprocate.
Absolutely. And it's just such a great message and such a great way to turn around and build authority too with what you're doing and what you're promoting, because you're utilizing not only the service hands, the giving hands first, you're reaching out with a positive, a value. You aren't reaching out with a pitch or a product. And what happens is, like Nancy mentioned, the law of I always get this. This is the word I always stumble on the worst, even though
Reciprocity.
Thank you for helping me with that. It's like linoleum, but it's my word, right? But it's absolutely, and more people will turn around when you're able to walk out and help someone. They're more willing to turn around and help you as a result. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, Nancy, because I find so many times that people, like I mentioned earlier, just lead with their product, they lead with their service, and they don't lead with how I can help you or what's in it for you, right? It's all what's in it for me.
I realize that this is sort of counterintuitive to people, because folks tend to be very self-focused, which also makes you stand out when you're not self-focused, when you take more interest in how you can support the success of other people and you actually make an impact. I'll tell you a story. May I, real quick?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So when I was just starting out and I had this workbook that I was very proud of, and I knew that authors and people who wanted to get their books done would be really good people to benefit from my work. And so there was someone named Christine Closer, and she was leading something called the Transformational Author Experience. And I was on her list and I knew who she was, and I didn't know her, but I wanted to know her. And one day I get this call from someone on her team, and they say, Christine is looking for prizes to honor people who participate in her Transformational Author Experience. Would you be willing to contribute prizes of your workbook for her authors? And because I already had my eye on that person, I said, I am thrilled to hear from you. I would love to participate. How many would you like, and how can we make it easy for you to share the good news? So I was a delight from the very first conversation. And then I said, let me go you one better. I'm wondering if there's some way I could lend support to this launch. And they said, well, we'll happily send you the swipe copy, which is the promotional copy. They pre-write for you, so all you have to do is add your name to it and cut, paste, and send. And I said, okay, I'll happily participate. And so they didn't know who I was. I had no name. And the day that I mailed, there was such a impact made on their side that Christine Closer emailed me and said, did you just mail for us? I said, I sure did. And she said, oh my God. I said, we are feeling it in a very big way. I said, well, that's great. that was how we met, in an email exchange where she felt the impact of my influence and wanted to know if it was really happening. So here's what I did. I knew that she was in a launch, and anytime you're in a launch, you know that there's like so many plates spinning. You just have to keep your eye on the ball and see it through. So what I did is I took my workbook and I wrapped it up in tissue paper, and I wrote a handwritten note, and I said, I know you're in the middle of a launch, and it's been really thrilled to participate and support you. When you recover from the launch, I hope that you'll take this workbook to bed with you to see what the fuss is about. I look forward to continuing the conversation. Well, a couple weeks later, she said, not only did I take the thing to bed with me, but I stayed up half the night because I realized that my bio was lackluster and not blockbuster, and now I've got a draft. Will you take a look at it? And I looked at it, and I knew who she was, and I said, okay, I see some missing pieces here. What if we do this, and what if we do that? And she said, oh my God, you so nailed it. And so bottom line, she invited me to be a speaker on her Transformational Author Summit the next year, and the year after that, and the year after that. And she referred many, many dollars of sales to my Bye Bye Boring Bio workbook. And she just had me on her podcast that's dropping next week. So one handwritten note with a book delivered to the doorstep is a great way to show that you are interested in creating a relationship after you've done something nice for someone else. And it worked really well for me, and we still have a relationship today, 10 years later.
That's an incredible story. I love stories. And the reason I love stories, guys, is ultimately at the end of the day, stories sell and facts tell, right? So if you can tell an engaging story about how someone else turned around and got a result, just like what Nancy did, she's a pro at it, by the way, you will turn around and have more results in your business as well. So it's just a great pro tip there. Always use stories in order to influence your audience in a positive way.
Amen.
Nancy, this conversation has been absolutely fantastic. Thanks so much for coming on. Guys, if you ever have the chance to work with Nancy, I highly, highly recommend that you take the opportunity to absolutely dive into this lady's world. She has helped me tremendously. Like I said, in just a short amount of time, really get clear on my message, help me with my Bye Bye Boring Bio, right? Because it was pretty boring before. She's also helped me with my media one sheet. She's helped me create my digital sheet. And not only that, guys, she's also the connector of all people. And that's what I love the most about Nancy, is she just has a great heart, and she's always looking for how she can turn around and serve other people. So thanks so much, Nancy. Tell us what you're working on right now, how people can find you, and where they find you.
Well, as we've talked about, I am the creator of the Bye Bye Boring Bio 2020 workbook that has changed the bios of stars on the rise and luminaries up to big things. And I actually give away a preview of this workbook, and it's the Bye Bye Boring Bio 2020 workbook preview. And I know in the show notes, you're going to want to run and not walk to avail yourself to that, because you're going to learn ways to make your bio on fire with pizzazz to open big doors. And another thing I'm working on is bringing as many people as possible to the podcast Dream Guest Mastery course that brought forth all the results that Sheldon was just talking about. So again, in the show notes, go ahead and check that out as well, because when you do, you will be the podcast Dream Guest that hosts can't wait to book on their shows. And once you've experienced that, if there's more you need from me, well, you'll know where to find me.
Absolutely, guys. Nancy Juetten, you can turn around, you can find her on all the Facebook handles and Instagram and all of that stuff. Like I said, we'll drop the links in the comments below. Nancy, it's been my pleasure having you on today. Thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to hop on here with us. We truly appreciate it, and I know my audience does as well. And can't wait to see where this all leads and what happens next.
Me too. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Fantastic. Thanks, Nancy.